let's get into our NCAA football best bets here on Pub Sports Radio. 6 games that we have chosen. I have picked 3 spots, and our guest Connor Mack has also picked 3 spots. We start on Saturday, November 4th. All games on Saturday. Let's bring on your guest, your special guest here for our NCAA football best bets. Please welcome Connor Mack to the show. Connor, it is great to see you. We had our first best bets 2 weeks ago, and you came very close to sweeping the board and still went 2-1. So excellent work there. Are you ready to rock, my friend?
I am, Jamie. I always love, we go over the games Monday, Tuesday. I sit with these games, seems like every day through the week, which I love. We do the same thing kind of in the NFL and come back to it and back to it. And I've had a few really good weeks, but last week, college football, just money. It was very, very good. So we kept rolling. I saw you on Arizona State. So was I, my friend. Nice cash.
It was a no sweater. No sweater.
I know.
And that was one of my best bets from last week. Last week, best bets 3-1. I went 3-1. I want to keep it going here because this is important, very, very important. So I start with the first game, then it's CMAC, and then 2 for me. And we close with 2 from CMAC. We're going to go in order of when the games pop off. So let's go. 2 p.m. Eastern. This is mine. Navy Midshipman, 3-4, 2-2 in the American. At the Temple Owls, 2-6, 0-4 in the American. We're at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And the weather's pretty nice. 64 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have, from a total perspective, it's rising. This opened up at 41.5 and it's now at 45. And that is because EJ Warner will be the starting quarterback for Temple. Let's see the point spread here for this one. We have Temple sitting at +6.5. They opened up at +7. And they opened up +7.5. Excuse me. They opened up at +7.5. It lasted there for 2 hours and 8 minutes before it moved to 7. It lasted there for 1 hour and 20 minutes before it moved to 6.5. And that's where it stayed. So we've had a 1-point move towards Temple. Going to the cash flow for this spot. Sorry, let me move over here and we go. So from a cash flow perspective, 24% of the tickets are on Temple and 89% of the cash. A clear, sharp action. Now, I'd like the market to move further, but clear, sharp action on Temple. 78% of tickets and 88% of cash on the over, and we've seen that go up 3.5 points. Justin McElvey says he wants to bet Temple bad. Well, I am betting them. Maybe that will help push you in that direction. Both teams have already bet them. Both teams coming off their bye week. Navy comes in off a 17-6 loss at home to Air Force's 11-point dogs. They put up just 124 total yards of offense. Ty Lavatai is throwing for 522 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. It's Alex Texa who is the monster on the team. He's rushed for 527 yards and 4 touchdowns. And they played well against Air Force. We know how good Air Force is this year, and they played fine. They weren't able to move the ball, but held Air Force to 17 points. They're a good football team. This isn't me fading Navy. This is a backing Temple. They're coming off back-to-back horrific losses. I mean, rock bottom losses. They lost at North Texas 45-14 and then lost at home to SMU 55-0. So it's not that they were outscored 100-14. They opened up by scoring on their first 2 drives against North Texas. So they haven't scored since, and they've allowed 100 points. Rock bottom. I love backing quarterbacks who have a lot of skill and who are underachieving after they sit and watch. Sit and watch for a couple weeks. Sit and watch all the mistakes that are being made out there. And get a sense of what's going on from a different perspective. And that's what EJ Warner has done. And we believe in EJ Warner as a quarterback. 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. They have a whole bunch of players who can move the ball on the ground, and they have a whole bunch of receivers as well. Joquez Smith, 299 rush yards. Darvin Hubbard, 236 rush yards. They have, they don't have one real standout running back, but they have a whole bunch of guys who are capable. Ahmad Anderson, 397 yards receiving. David Martin Robertson, 305 yards receiving. And this is about a team that gets destroyed and is at the very bottom, and then they see their quarterback back on the field. and they start having hope again, and they start believing, and they have a bye week. So they get destroyed for 2 weeks. They see their quarterback back on the field. They have 2 good weeks of practice. And then they come in here and they play their best game of the season at home against a team that will struggle moving the ball against them. And you know how to defend it. Look, I don't trust Temple's defense here, but you can come up with a game plan against Navy, especially if you come in off of a bye. It's not a complicated situation, and you're coming off of a bye. You need to get your first win in conference. And I'm not saying they're going to get that, but I think they keep it within the number. I moved on Temple plus 6.5. C-Mac, take it away. What are your thoughts on Navy Temple?
Yeah, this for Temple is going to be. I got to hit the chat. Shout out to our guy Perky in here, Justin Weinstein, Andrew G, Al, Troy Torrance, everyone. Good work on the NFL show. My dude, you're killing it. Leonard, as always. Allie. Shout out to all you guys. Man, I'd like to be on Temple. I think this is, after the bye, where you'd want to be on them here, Jimmy. One thing, Navy, to me, still is the better team. With Warner, he's in. This is the key. It's just him. And for everything like you just showed, he's a go. Like, it's just probable, and I think he's going. As long as something weirdly happens. If he's in a quarterback, Temple can hang around in this football game. But I had this, I need this over the touchdown mark. I need this 7.5 to bet Temple. I almost looked at him 2 weeks ago, Warner's last game versus UTSA, before they got back-to-back blown out. They didn't even score against, SMU, 55-0 in that game. And they lost by 15. I didn't make a bet, but I thought they came out and looked great. And they're just a totally different offense. We have seen when he's not there, they couldn't even move the ball. It was pretty rough those last 2 weeks. So they're off the bye. They got to feel refreshed. This team, though, and another reason I really don't want them, or I don't want both these teams right now, and even in this spot, Temple's just been horrible. ATS, they're 1-7. But with him at quarterback, the points can come here, and that's what keeps him alive as a dog. I just couldn't get there in the end. I had to pass this game. I think Navy, and maybe a close one, wins, but good luck.
Thank you. Every trend is against Temple. It's on Navy in this spot.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want Navy. Like, I wouldn't want. Who wants to be laying points on the road with Navy right now? I mean.
I'm right with you. Even though I didn't mind their performance against Air Force, I'm right with you, and I'm confident in this spot. And we've all.
What do you think here, Jimmy? Real quick, sorry to just the rushing here. No, we know Navy's just going to run it. How bad Temple's been against the run? They've been over 200 yards a game. You just think we're going to get a shootout then, if Temple's in this game?
No, well, I believe that coming off of a bye, even if you don't have the right player personnel, you can come up with schemes if you practice it for 2 straight weeks. They're going to practice going up against the run for 2 straight weeks. And yes, they've been bad against the run, but my hope is that this is the perfect situation for Temple to go up against Navy. The perfect situation. We're not talking about 5 days of practice. We're talking about 10 days of practice. So
last year was a good game. What was it, 27-20? I think Navy won.
Yeah, but this defense is even worse.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on EJ Warner changing the script from these 2 horrific spots and keeping it close, and also having his best game of the season after watching for 2 weeks. I really believe in that, watching, and I feel the same way about Daniel Jones this weekend against Vegas. It's the most money I've bet on a side this year in the entire NFL season I have on the New York Giants. So it's the same sort of situation, but I think it's even bigger in college football personally. So there I am. That's my first best bet.
Jimmy, too. If he's in EJ Warner, there's good weather. I know Navy obviously slow and runs it, but I think this could get over the total here.
Yeah, if
Warner's in, just how bad Temple's defense, they're going to give up touchdowns. You got to think this game gets into the 20s, and you need him you have to. Their offense is EJ Warner. When they don't have him, they don't score. So he's there. I'm going to look at this total a little more.
That's interesting. I'm going to put some more time in that into that total. But I'm on Temple plus 6.5. Let's move on to CMAX spot on the board. Now, happy you picked this game. I found it very interesting. 3 p.m. Eastern. South Florida, 4-4, 2-2 in the American at Memphis, 6-2, 3-1. We're at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, Memphis, Tennessee. Beautiful weather, 69 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. There's Dabby Cab in the chat. He will be on our NCAA football best bets tomorrow. Let's get into the line history of this one. One of my best bets last week. North Texas, gave it out on our video here, and they almost went outright. I thought they were going to win outright, but it didn't matter. They cashed.
Anyway. Just dug a hole.
Yeah, huge hole. Did not look good. But then it started looking good. That was crazy comeback. Memphis opens up at -13. They're now -13.5. Half-point move in their direction. This total opened up at 67. It's now at 68, and it is juiced to the over. 68 is the lowest number on the board in the marketplace. Everywhere else, 68.5 or 69. So let's get into the cash flow for this one. This is CMAX first best bet. We have 55% of the ticket, 73% of cash on the under, and it's going up. We have no cash flow information, just the amount of tickets. 89% of the tickets on Memphis, and we don't know what's going on with the money. South Florida comes in off of their bye week. They were last seen snapping their 2-game losing streak in a 24-21 win at UConn as 1-point favorites. That one hit me right in the gut. I was on UConn money line, and I thought I was in business for almost all of that game, and that one hit me right in the gut. Memphis comes in off a tough 45-42 win at North Texas, 7-point favorites that we just discussed. Take it away for us here, CMAX, South Florida, Memphis.
Yeah, I had to really look at this game close. This is one of my teams I've just loved to fade as a favorite here. And last week, even though the hole we just mentioned was big with North Texas, this Memphis team over especially the last 4 or 5 years, can't cover the number, Jimmy. And they haven't done it this year. I think they're 2-5 or 2-6 already. South Florida, this is why I like them too. They struggle on defense. They're going to give up touchdowns in this game. I think in the end, the total could creep over. I'm not going to mess with the total, but they're off their bye here. And I've gone down each game the last 2 days through their schedule and how they've played, how many close games they played, and the wins they've got. This team's actually looking for a bowl game, Jimmy. South Florida, a team that was just horrible, just bad. But Brown's been good. I like how this offense has looked. And at times where the defense can get gashed, has looked pretty good, at certain times during the year. I mean, we all remember the Alabama game, right? The 17-3 between these two schools. They beat Rice. They beat Navy. They had the 2 bad ones. And then you mentioned the win with UConn. Memphis laying this number, no way. Double digit with them, even at home. I can't take it at all. I want the points. And there's not a 14. I don't think we get a 14. I knew we were doing this. That's what I'd like to have just in case. But give me the 13.5 here. South Florida is able to keep this game close. That's in the 30s. I'll take it.
I like this look. I thought that Alex Golesh had been tuned out by South Florida. And that was part of my cap with UConn was, Moreover's Golesh. But they showed that they have not tuned him out, and that was a big win. And now they come in off their bye week. Mm-hmm. So Golesh gets extra time to prepare. I like this look that you have here. I like it quite a bit. I'm very interested in tailing it. Will Hill, oh no, because they do all their college football at that number. God, so much juice they take. It's ridiculous. A bookmaker has not moved this off of the 13 as well.
There's not 13.5s?
Oh, there's a ton of 13.5s, but bookmaker is a sharp book, and they've moved it back to 13, even though we've heard 90% of the tickets on Memphis. So that's another nice point here.
I love this. I think this could bite back. Like, I don't see 14. If we do it, I'll take it because this is the cap. But if actually I saw this drop, I'd like it. As long as I had over the 13.
I like this. I think I want to join you on this. You can get minus 108. The 13.5 is slightly juiced at Pinnacle. And we just talked about 90% of tickets being on Memphis.
Oh, the pub's going to be all over Memphis. And we saw how great they can score. And Memphis, 0-4 ATS at home this year. They just give it up. It seems like they get, even if they have a 2-touchdown lead, 3-touchdown, they don't have the defense to be hanging around as much as I think the offense is okay. Yeah. The dog here.
I like it. CMAC is on South Florida Bulls plus 13.5 minus 108. I want to join them. And it was successful joining them 2 weeks ago when we did this video. Let's move on. 3 p.m. Eastern. Next up, it's my spot. Florida Atlantic Owls 4-4. 3-1 in the American. The UAB Blazers 2-6, 1-3 in the American. We're Protective Stadium in Birmingham, Alabama. 69 Fahrenheit, sunny, 4 miles per hour. And let me start with, I do not want to back Trent Dilfer. I don't. But I must. I must here. Let's take a look at the line history. And this is no fault. I think he needs more time here with this club. They don't look very good. Let's go over the line history. There's been a huge move to UAB at home. UAB opened up plus 2.5. They've moved to favorites. They're -1 right now. I got the -105. I was late to the party. I could have got -103 too if I put it in at Pinnacle, but I sent it in at -105. From a money line perspective, that'll give you maybe a better idea of what's gone on in this one. Over at Pinnacle, it's still -103, so it hasn't changed. But other books, so this opened up with UAB at plus 112. They got up to -108 yesterday. They're down back at -103. And, looking around, Will Hill has them at -110. That is a dog price at Will Hill. They're college football. They really milk you for college football action. They're -105 at Heritage. At Bet Online, UAB is now -120. And Bet Online was one of the books that set them up at -105. Opened them at -105, not at plus money. And they've moved 15 cents to -120 there. You get no VIG whatsoever if you want Florida Atlantic. That says a lot to me. A lot. Let's get into the total then for this one. Pops off at 3 p.m. We're sitting at a 60. This opened up at 60, but books that came out early, Bet Online had it 55.5, but this has not moved from that 60. And when we take a look at the cash flow here, we have 44% of the tickets. Oh, it just switched. 42% of the tickets and 87% of the cash on UAB. Clear, sharp, big bets coming in on them and the market changing. 75% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the under. That's not moved anything. Florida Atlantic comes in off a 38-16 win at Charlotte as 3.5-point favorites. I faded Florida Atlantic in that game and it blew up my face. Daniel Richardson played very well. I didn't expect him. LeJohntay West picked up 2 big touchdown passes. He's been great this year, 785 yards. He's only caught 5 all year, but 2 of them were there. Larry McCammon, 539 yards rushing. And Daniel Richardson, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That was his best game of the year. Does he follow that up? Possibly. Florida Atlantic's defense has been good all season, allowing 23.9 points per game. And UAB comes in off their bye week. This is huge for Trent. They were last seen losing their second straight game by double digits, 45-21 at home to Memphis, a 7.5-point dogs. They outgained Memphis in that game, 381-352. They lose the turnover battle 4-0. One of those turnovers, second quarter pick 6 against them. Jacob Zeno has been better. I think he's better than Richardson. He's just coming off a couple bad games. It's still 12 touchdowns, 6 picks. Jermaine Brown has 9 touchdown passes. And UAB's defense is bad. What's the common theme with my best bets here is we are expecting improvements from these defenses after a midseason bye. And I think that's a fair thing to expect. And the market is telling me that UAB is alive here at home. And I believe they are as well. I'm on UAB money line -105. Take it away for us here, CMAC. Florida Atlantic, UAB.
What do you think with Zeno, though? I mean, I still have he's questionable for this game. You think he's a go?
I looked at everything I saw in the market moving. I thought he was going to be ready to go off the bye. The same market from what we expect from Temple and EJ. And it could be wrong. It could blow up my face. But why would the big market move be towards UAB if he wasn't available? I'll see if I can pull up any last minute stuff from today. But
yeah, I didn't have a ton. Just the still questionable in this one because if he's in, I like it a lot more, Jimmy, because the quarterback carousel without him just wasn't working, And this has been UAB growing pains with Trent Dilfer. I didn't love the hire, and we'll see if he can, get things going, even past this year. Man, they play fast. And you mentioned that last game against Memphis, just the mistakes. Obviously, they have 3 quarterbacks out there, 2 or 3 quarterbacks.
He is healthy and ready to go after sitting out the prior game due to concussion protocols.
Yeah, I just still had some places probable and questionable. Okay, that makes a difference. And he's had his times where he's struggled this year, Jimmy, as Zeno. But with him, I think you got to like the play a lot more. FAU, yeah, I was shocked by Richards' last game as well. I was took it back. They played probably one of their best games all around there. Another reason why UAB just needs a good win at home. The defense has gotten gashed, and Florida Atlantic's going to take advantage of that. This total hasn't moved, but I can only look at the total and take the over. I don't know what UAB defense is going to change. Even from what they're trying to do, I get it, and they're at home after the bye, but I'd lean over in this game. I'd stay off the side.
I hear you. This is both UAB and Temple have real similar situations for me, and I like it here. Robert Franklin says that Dilfer makes questionable play calling. He hasn't looked great.
No. But he looks like a psycho sometimes. I've seen him out there. This total, too, every game's got there. Few close, 40-20. It was 60-61 against Memphis. It got there. I think this could be hanging too low. I'd still be on the sober.
I hear you.
Good weather, too. I see.
Yeah, I'm going to put the over in as a possibility here for me. Okay, let's move on to the next spot on the board. It is mine, and then we close out with 2 spots from CMAC. 3:30 p.m. Eastern, James Madison Dukes 8-0, 5-0 in the Sun Belt. At the Georgia State Panthers 6-2, 3-2 in the Sun Belt. Center Park Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, 68 Fahrenheit, 5 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history for this one. Oh, I got the money line up. I apologize. Let me just quickly move over to point spreads. And let's roll here, move over to Pinnacle. So this one pops off at 3:30 p.m. and we have Georgia State down to 5. They opened up at 5.5, and within 45 minutes we're at 4.5. Then they bounced back up to 5.5, so it was quick. And then they were at 6.5. 6.5 was the highest. It was Monday morning at 7. They were at 6.5. 8:30 they dropped to 6, and last night they dropped to 5. Now 5 is the lowest that it's at. I got it at 5.5 at Bet365. I believe it's still available at that number. Let's get into the total here for this one. And here we go. The total is sitting at 54. This opened up at 55. It's dropped 1 point down to 54. When we get into the cash flow for this one, you have 75% of tickets, 81% cash on the under. And from a spread situation, you have 42% of tickets and 87% of cash on UAB, which I like. I like everything about this. James Madison's perfect season continues. And this isn't like, I don't want to fade them after they almost get, take a loss as 19.5 point favorites at Old Dominion. I don't want to, but it's this idea of heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's going to get harder and harder and heavier being undefeated here. Being ranked, being undefeated, all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's going to catch up to them. They're a better team than Georgia State. It's not that. It's just that I think this is going to get tough. They let ODU put up 415 yards of offense on them. Look, we've watched Jordan McLeod play great all year. Kalen Black. I mean, there's nothing. Reggie Brown is a monster at wide receiver. This is a really good football team. They had covered the spread in 5 straight before this last game against ODU. So now you have Georgia State with a 2-day rest advantage. That's important. They were last seen in an embarrassing 44-27 loss at their rival Georgia Southern at a pick'em. Darren Granger did not look good in that football game. He's got to be better. This is exactly where I want to back a football team. Exactly. In every single way, this is where I want them, and this is where I'm going to move on them. I don't need them to win. I need them to play their best game of the season after getting stomped on by their rival, and I think they will play their best game of the season. I'm on Georgia State Panthers here at plus 5.5. C-Mac, that's my final best bet on this card. What do you think of James Madison, Georgia State?
This is going to be a good game, I think, here, Jamie. One thing I touched on last week, I love that game. Old Dominion's been nothing but cash for me. I think I'm 5-0 with them. That went from 16. It even touched 21 a few places, 20.5. And I was just bullish on it. And they keep playing. What a matchup they got this week against Coastal, at home, small favorites, basically a pick 'em or a 1-point favorite. That should be a good game. A Coastal team that's playing a lot better. But I thought that number was just insane how well Dominion's playing. Now James Madison, they get by that game. They had a couple turnovers. They were good once again in that matchup. One thing, and they gave up to Old Dominion last week, was on the ground. And I think that's key here because, their stats will show you in the conference, they're just great. They only give up, 48 rushing yards a game. It's, tops in the country, right around there. And we all know Georgia State wants to run it. They average over 190 on the ground. So can they have success there? So they get 150 yards or more on the ground. I think they're in this game, and they're going to have to get some turnovers from James Madison in this one because James Madison is going to be able to score on this football team. This total I don't think I'm going to mess with this total, because I think it could fall over or stay under. Georgia State. At one time, I think they have success just from last year. This was a good game. I believe did they win? I had pulled up here. It was a close, high-scoring game last year with these two. 42-40, James Madison.
Yeah.
And James Madison at home, they were 10-point favorites. I like Georgia State as well. I haven't bet it yet, but this is one where after their worst loss of the year to Georgia Southern, where they just got right away that game, they just were out of it. They just got pounded early. It seemed like it was 27-0, just like that. And they tried to come back late, but it didn't matter. In a tough rivalry game against Georgia Southern, I think they're in it. I'm leaning your way, and I might get there. I'm going to look at it a little bit more, but I think this is a close game, a field goal type game. And probably, after that loss, the little extra rest, they will be up for it. So I like Georgia State.
I like too, and I've not seen one person on Georgia State. All I've seen is James Madison being backed. So.
Well, people are going to back them. They see this under the touchdown. The public, they're James Madison. This is like James Madison's smash spot. Side betters. Because they're 8-0.
Yeah, and expecting to bounce back after against ODU. But I'm telling you, it's going to the zero beside their loss column. It weighs heavier as the season goes on.
The bullseye. It seems like it gets bigger and bigger on the back.
Absolutely.
Every game. I love it.
Those are my 3 spots. We've only heard from one from C-Mac, so let's get into his next one. 7 p.m. Eastern, the number 21 ranked Kansas Jayhawks, 6-2, 3-2 in the Big 12 at Iowa State Cyclones, 5-3, 4-1 in the Big 12. We're at Jack Trice Stadium. Names Iowa, 48 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Move over here and discuss this spot. 7 p.m. action. We have Iowa State sitting as minus 2.5 point favorites. They opened up at minus 1.5. They got up to minus 3. They got to minus 3 on Monday at 1 p.m. So a 1.5 move in their direction. Now, it only lasted there for about an hour and 20 minutes before it moved back to 2.5, where it stayed. Now, this 2.5, when it first moved back, it took about 20 minutes for it to move to Kansas being juiced to minus 111. That's long gone. If you want Kansas right now at plus 2.5, you get that with no vig, even money. So we've had a point move to Iowa State, and that is juiced. From a total scenario here, we have it sitting at 54. This opened up at 54. We've had no movement at all. I mean, we're talking, it opened up minus 110 under 54. It's now minus 109. So just nothing has happened there. Let's get into the cash flow for this. Again, we will be breaking down the entire 13-game NBA card right after this with Dutch Boy Fresh. Kansas Jayhawks, Iowa State Cyclones cash flow here. Let's get up to this. Here we have, it's 93% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on Iowa State. Wow. Now we're only talking about 7,200 tickets, so it's Wednesday afternoon. That can change. From a total standpoint, we don't know the cash flow. We just know that 75% of tickets are on the over. Kansas comes in off a very impressive 38-33 home win over Oklahoma, 7-point dogs. It was our NCAA live stream showcase game starring Connor Mack and Dabby Cab, and what a game it was. Iowa State comes in off their third straight impressive win, 30-18 at Baylor as 3-point favorites. And that winning streak began after getting fed by Oklahoma 50-20 back on September 30th. Here we go, C-Mac. Best bet number 2 from you, Jayhawks Cyclones. Take it away.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be really good. And a team in Iowa State I haven't backed this year at all. Last week was all over Kansas. I thought it was a really, really good spot for them. In Oklahoma, they have a good game coming up with Oklahoma State this week. That should be good. The last one in that rivalry. I like how Iowa State's been playing football these last 3 or 4 weeks. It seems like since they got blown out at Oklahoma, at home to TCU, they win 27-14, at Cincinnati 30-10, at Baylor 30-18. They come back home. I think a lot of people are going to be loving Kansas after this win. Man, Kansas is it. This is the game. This is them. They're just a different football team. You watch this week in and week out on the road. And so's Bean. We saw the mistakes and he got away with it, but he's made some bad mistakes on the road. And I think he does here. And one thing with Kansas on the road, they've gotten worn down. They kind of got beat up with Texas 40-14. And that second half, Oklahoma State took it to them, really. And that's how they pulled away and won by 7, 39-32. Iowa State's owned this rivalry. They won 9 of the last 10. I like last year, Kansas actually won. I think it was like 14-10 or 14-11. They were at home, but now they go on the road. Iowa State wears them down. I love that. I want under the field goal here because, this could be close. They're not a team that blows out. But Rocco Beck, he's looked good. I think he's been able to throw all over this Kansas defense that's not very good, especially on the road. And on the flip side, this Iowa State defense keeps getting better week in and week out, Jimmy. When you go through all the numbers, they just keep improving, against the pass, against the run. I think they wear them down. I'm on Iowa State minus 2.5.
This makes a ton of sense. Iowa State minus 2.5. It's juiced at a lot of locations, not at Heritage minus 108 there. This makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Thank you, Truth Teller, my friend. Justin McElvey says he loves fading teams off a huge upset. Says, give me Iowa State. Regis Austin on Iowa State. Christopher Comentini on Iowa State. Don Plato, Kansas money line. Kansas money line. Equanimus on Iowa State first half. Robert Franklin on Iowa State. Andrew G on Iowa State. So there we go. There we go. C-Mac on Iowa State minus 2.5, minus 108. That's best bet number 2. We'll be looking at that a lot closer. Let's get into our final spot on the board for our best bets show. A C-Mac look, 8 p.m. Eastern. The Miami Hurricanes 6-2, 2-2 in the ACC at the NC State Wolfpack 5-3, 2-2 in the ACC. We're at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, North Carolina. 56 Fahrenheit clear, no wind at all. 0 miles per hour, it says. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have it moving as we speak. Moving as we speak. We have Miami sitting at minus 4 at minus 107. That's exactly where it opened. Minus 4 at minus 108. It got up to minus 118 and then it came back. So we have U-shaped movement. It's exactly where it is. Minus 4, minus 108, exactly where it opened. Then we go into the total here for this one. And we have it's sitting at 45.5. This opened up at 45.5. So we've had no movement at all. Stuck at 45.5. Over to the cash flow for this one. We have no information on the cash for the total. Just 2,420 tickets in. 52% of the tickets are on the under. No information on the cash. On the spread, we do 21% of the tickets and 58% of the cash is on Miami. And again, the market not moving, but why would they? There's not been a lot of tickets bet on this game. Miami comes in off back-to-back tight overtime home wins, 28-20 over Clemson and double overtime as 6-point dogs. And then 29-26 in a much different situation. Over Virginia last week is 18.5-point favorites. MC State comes in off a huge 24-17 win at home over Clemson as 9.5-point dogs. The very interesting thing about that win was they were outgained 364 to 202 in that win. Take it away for us here, C-Mac. Hurricanes, Wolfpack.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. They just kind of jumped out there to that lead, like 14-0, and did it. But yeah, if you go through the numbers, they weren't great on third down, 3 for 13. Clemson had double the amount of first down, so a little misleading here. But let's get to Miami in this matchup. I think there's a little bit of a problem here. They get the win against Clemson, and then the close one with the backup, and then Van Dyke's back in against Virginia, who's playing a lot better football. I think Van Dyke, something's off with him. He has not looked good, and they've talked about it, the whole coaching staff, that he's just something since the beginning of the year that he's dealing with that injury, just downfield, his passes don't look right, and that he's just not right. And this team beat North Carolina, I believe, on the road, or lost to them on the road. Of course, they had Temple, which was a pretty easy one, September 23rd. But this Miami team now goes out on the road with Van Dyke playing bad. They have a pretty good defense, and that's why I think this game is close. I lean under. We have a low total, but this is at Carter Finley Stadium, and I want the team in NC State who has the better defense that's improving. And I want them here at home where they play their best football, plus 4.5. We're getting over the field goal. And I think as bad as that stat line was, they still get the win. This will be different. As I just keep going, every week they just keep improving. Against the run, they're 25th. And this is a defense that even at home where they've been so good, kind of got gashed by Notre Dame. We've seen how good this Notre Dame team is. But at home here, I love how they play football. Morris just has to protect and do what he does. No mistakes from him. I think Van Dyke makes a few. This game is low scoring. And even if it gets over, I'm not going to mess with the total, even though I lean under. I want the 4.5. I see a field goal game at best here. I think NC State could even win outright. Give me the 4.5 or 4.
The 4.5 is available. It's available at Bet Online. It's interesting because the other books are at 4. My bookie just moved it to 3.5. So
it's going to go down, I think.
CMAC is on NC State plus 4.5 at minus 110.
I think this could go to 3, Jimmy, too. Maybe by the end of the week.
Yeah, no, that's feels like that is the direction that we are going in. So there you go. There's our NCAA football best bets. Let's review them here for you guys. I have Temple plus 6.5. We also have CMAC interested in the over and getting me to definitely look at the over. CMAC's first spot is South Florida at plus 13.5. I'm tailing that. I'm going to bet that after the show. Then I'm on UAB minus 105. And, Zeno, different information from different books or different sites. But the main ones that I've been looking at say that he's in, and the market tells me he's in. So I'm on him at minus 105. And then CMAC talking about looking at that over. Then I'm on Georgia State plus 5.5 against James and Madison. CMAC gets rolling with Iowa State minus 2.5. The chat really likes that spot, and I'm interested in it, very interested in it. And then he's on NC State plus 4.5 at minus 110 to close it out. Last video we did for NCAA football best bets, CMAC was very unlucky to not sweep the board. He went 2-1, and also on that show he cashed a 21-point dog winning outright in that one.
Yeah,
that was the Georgia Tech.
Almost both. Arizona almost cashed too. Damn. Yeah. That would have been great.
Great work, C-Mac. Please follow Connor Mac on X at Connor Mac Picks. C-Mac, we have a huge weekend of action. Whether you go to the Breeders' Cup in LA or stay in Vegas and work with us, it's going to be all good either way. So everybody watch Hitting the Books every Monday afternoon. It is a huge show with so many games broken down, so much work and effort put into it. So excellent work there. And of course, Saturday, the game of choice for CMAC. Now there's 3 big games. So obviously they're going to have action all over. They'll be, looking at different spots, but the game that meant the most to Dabby Cab is Texas A&M and Ole Miss. And all we want is people to care, right? People to care. So if he cares so much about that game, let's do it,
I agree. And that's why I wrote you. I'm like, because Cab, especially, with A&M, the emotions running high for him. Not only with money, but when he's on a Saturday, he is fired up, to say the least, especially that early. I'm still sometimes half asleep. But thanks for having me. Check out that, on Saturday morning, A&M Ole Miss. That should be a great game. Check out all the Hitting the Books. Check the full show, the clips. Appreciate it, Jimmy. I wanted to rip through just a couple. I haven't moved. Obviously, Oklahoma off the loss. But the last bedlam, I'm leaning Oklahoma State. There's some wins in that game, but I kind of see a back and forth points there. I'm leaning. I also lean Texas. I just haven't bet this game. I think Texas beats K-State. Howard at QB. Now they've brought in the 2 quarterback, but loving them after the shutout win at home. Now they go on the road against a Texas team who's just owned their ass, even though they have their backup quarterback. I think it's fine there. I mean, Texas to win by a touchdown in that one. And I did move. You mentioned Georgia State. I'm going to look at that a little bit more. I did move on UConn. I took them last week. I think 36. I got 36. Too many points against Tennessee. Tennessee wins this game. They're a better football team. But UConn getting that almost a 40 spot, I took them plus 36. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I stared at that spot as well. Do you want to make any of those 3 spots official for our record-keeping purposes?
I mean, you could do UConn because that one. The other ones I haven't bet. I bet that.
Okay, that makes sense. Did you think about only taking them a first half, or do you think the Mora squad is going to keep fighting all game?
I think they keep fighting because I worry first half they get blown out. Even UTSA did, and that was at UTSA is kind of worse than Tennessee on a bounce back. And that game was like 41-14. That's all we need, or like 45-14. Yeah, like I just think they get a couple scores. Like I just thought that number was inflated, especially over 35. Over the 5 touchdowns. And UConn's not the same. I cashed with them last week on the road. I really like them a lot better at home, we know. But, man, that was just a shit ton. Give me all those points. Gobble it up.
Plus 35.5. A lot of the sharp books have moved it to 35. So
beautiful. Give me a 35. What you can get,
35.5 at minus 108. So CMAC making UConn official plus 35.5. Minus 108 leans to Oklahoma State and Texas. We'll see if he pulls the trigger on those. And you catch CMAC and Dabby Cab on Saturday at 11:45 Eastern. And we'll go over CMAC's action in NHL and MLB when we close up the show. CMAC, thank you so much for making time with us. We will see you again 2 weeks from now. We'll cut up this college football video and have it up and out and ready for everybody to see. And the last one we did together was the most successful one we've had. So keep up the great work, and thank you for all your hard work. And please follow CMAC on X at Connor Mac Picks, and I'll be in touch, my man.
Excellent. Perfect. I love to stay with you, Jimmy, but I'm glad Dutch is here to do the NBA.
Respect, my guy. Respect.